What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? It's been a minute. Yo, we're back. Happy Monday to everybody. I hope everybody's had a wonderful weekend. I know we're just coming off of 9/11. For those whom have lost somebody, for those who are still traumatized by experiencing things. I'm a first responder, so I understand what you're going through. So I send prayers and well wishes to you during this time. Also, for those who have lost people, just condolences. Also, for those who have been sick, with COVID and other things of that magnitude, or just the sick and shut it in. Just sending well wishes, happy birthdays to those who are celebrating birthdays. How about that? Let's keep it happy and positive. But tonight, Real Talk is back and we ready to rock. And we are here with Dr. Marilyn Corder today. This is Real Ask the Doc, Real Talk with the Doctor. How are you doing today, Doc?
I'm doing fantastic. This is Monday. We're starting off back to school. Everybody's back to school. So we're going to be talking a lot around that to try to stay safe.
Definitely. So wherever you want to start, like you said, people going back to school. The big thing is being vaccinated, going for kids and not kids. Um, Suggestions, comments, whatever you want to say about it. I know the beautiful thing is she's always busy and she's on the move, so we got her on in transit. But as long as we have you, that's all that matters. That's the most important thing for me.
I,
The fact that
I'm
we
just
have
leaving.
you.
I'm just leaving the office, and it's interesting. You know, this is the Halloween time, as you see with my smock, but it's
Yeah.
kind of scary. I said this is Halloween, and they're talking about having the next shot for 5 to 11-year-olds by Halloween. I'm like, okay,
Right.
is this kind of scary or what? But we are seeing a rise. Our hospital, Children's Hospital here in DC, they just put out a big announcement to all of the colleagues, all of the primary care doctors that number one, emergency room is crowded, 7 hours, etc. Number two, they have maximized pretty much their ICU because of the increase in COVID admissions, and we need to make sure that we understand what this is and how we need to all get tested. And if you don't want to get the vaccine, I'll just say that if you get sick and you get to the hospital and you get admitted and you're in the ICU, you're going to have to look at the nurses and the doctors when they ask you, are you vaccinated? Because that's a shift and that's a bed that perhaps you did not have to occupy if you were vaccinated. In other words, they're frustrated. We're frustrated because when you're not vaccinated, 11 times the rate if you onto the of the unvaccinated folks, it's 11 times the rate of
Okay.
being hospitalized. 99%, over 90% hospitalized, unvaccinated. So this is a pandemic for the unvaccinated. It really is.
Yeah. So, there's so many asked questions. There's so many individuals out here that refuse for reasons to not take the vaccine. And one of the questions that it says, well, why take the vaccine if I'm still going to catch COVID? What's your medical professional? Mhm.
That's a good question. And I get it. And I have to blame the earlier uh, comments and the experts, so to speak, the research that said if you get the vaccine, we were led to believe you would not get COVID. Actually, if you follow the science and you see the protein, the actual defense that the vaccination gives you, the vaccine gives. So it's like a football game, as I tell folks, that you're practicing and you're in position. The defensive line is in position for when COVID comes.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's still gonna come. COVID is not looking at you like, okay, I'm gonna skip over you because you vaccinated. No, it's still gonna come. But you have your defensive line already there. You've already
Mm.
playbook. So therefore it came. The team, COVID team came. But guess who won out? It didn't defeat you. You
Okay.
didn't lose. Okay. So that's where the information as it was given, it was not given, in my opinion, okay, as a researcher, as clear as it should have been. You're gonna get exposed, you'll get a breakthrough, but they never should have said breakthrough. They should say you're gonna get it, but your defense is so strong. So it may, you may have some symptoms, you may be a little tired at most, But because your defense is so strong, because you've been vaccinated, your body said, been there, done that. I've been here in terms of, I can fight this. Versus the folks who've never had the vaccine.
So it's almost like similar, like to somebody taking a
So,
flu shot and still getting sick, but you're not getting severe.
right,
Okay,
right, correct, correct,
good.
correct.
Okay, and then have, let's see, what was the other question? Okay, why do people have certain reactions to the vaccine, Doc? Is that just
You know, because the vaccine is, I gotta say, it's different to your body. Your body responds differently, and as it responds, you know, as it responds differently, you have you're individualized, and that response that's individualized. I'm gonna sit down now. The response that's
well, this is
individualized.
your show, so this is your show. You rock on. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. So you will have some, as people are individualized, some people have sensitivities where they have more allergies. Some people have sensitivities where they may have a condition that causes inflammation. And those are the people who I always say get monitored when you get your shot. Those that have already gotten their shot, they know they should have been observed for at least 20 minutes, 15
Right,
of 20 minutes, and understand that your body will have a response because it's doing something. When I say it's doing something to your body. The vaccine is setting up a defense. So you may have some, I call it reactions, hopefully not a severe reaction, but you may have a reaction like a headache, like a fever, and those reactions can cause some irritation. And unfortunately, some people, like allergic reaction, they may have had to get Benadryl or may have had to get a what we call an epinephrine, a shot, because of the reaction. So, all vaccines have some reactions, even the measles, mumps, the different tetanus, etc. But you want to make sure that in as you are looking and weighing out the positives, the negatives, etc., that you understand what COVID reaction could be, an infection with COVID. And you've had folks who have had COVID and now are getting their vaccination because they need to have that booster. They need to have that extra defense, because post COVID often will have you having a different body in terms of weakness, in terms of not having the stamina, the ability to go up the steps, the shortness of breath. You see, I had a patient who, she's 4 years old, and she got COVID from daycare, and that was 2 weeks ago. And then they quarantine you. You say, okay, you quarantine for 2 weeks or 10 days, depending upon where you are.
Mm-hmm.
She quarantined. So today, her grandmother said we were out walking, and all of a sudden, she went limp. She got weak. And she said, I don't know what it is. I said, well, you got to take her to the hospital. It turns out this is the long haul of COVID. And she never got the shot because she's 4, but she got COVID. And this is to a 4-year-old who's otherwise healthy. So that's scary. What is that going to look like? What does that look like? Right. Okay. So these children are getting it and they can't get the vaccine. So that may end up being what we call one of the comorbidities. And a comorbidity meaning that these children are now sick.
And then now you're just treating them for COVID, but it's, I guess, like what happens? Can you give us some insight? I mean, professionally, of course, what happens when somebody comes in with COVID and you're treating them now? I'm assuming the variants can be, do you treat the variants the same way as you treat COVID, or they're all the same? Okay.
Well, yeah, because most of the time, be it COVID-19, the novel versus COVID variant, most of the time you will see a respiratory weakness, respiratory distress, weakness, fever,
Okay.
like flu, and then unfortunately you can go into a major compromise in terms of your lungs, and that's why when they're monitoring you, they're monitoring your pulse ox. Your pulse ox is the thing we put on your finger to see where your oxygen level is.
Right, right.
People say, well, I knew I was sick with my pulse ox in room air, meaning you're not on oxygen, but your pulse ox should be in upper 90s. You have folks who know their medicine and say the pulse ox was in the 80s, upper 80s, and that meant they were in trouble. They were soon to be crashing and would need respiratory support. And that would be an event. So that's what happens. Okay. Unfortunately, that's what happens.
Wow. That's something else. Another question that says, what advice do you give those who have caught COVID and beat it, so they feel that they don't have to take the vaccine?
What advice? Well,
I know some people. I had a conversation. I had to have a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were going back and forth, respectfully. And like I tell people, I'm not sitting here to tell you to take the vaccine. I did what I did for me and my family. But he was showing us statistics with the governor or somebody in Florida or someplace was talking about like 25% of the people, a spike in the numbers had went up. People that got vaccinated and then people who have gotten sick, or some people have died. So we were going back and forth with numbers. Mm-hmm. And I think he was saying something like supposedly 13,000 people. I don't know. I can't quote the numbers off the top of my head. I was looking for the comments we had, and he was saying that people have died. So what is the thing on the people dying supposedly that have taken the vaccine? I mean, what's your theory on this?
The people died because the vaccine killed them, or is that the question?
Well, yeah, because this is what's kind of being put out there, supposedly, right, that the vaccine has killed. People have taken the vaccine and they've died. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I can only ask, what's your theory?
And everything is individualized, and there's something called HIPAA violation. Who knows what killed them? Who knows? Mm-hmm. I mean, I say that I'm not trying to belittle their family members who said this is what happened to my relative or my loved one, but I want to make sure that we understand that when we talk about folks who died from whatever, that there's certainty there, and the certainty may not be there. It may be what we call coincidental, or what we call it. It happened, but it's not due to that. And so there are lots of comorbidities. There are lots of conditions that may have already caused blood clotting, et cetera. Now, I'm not going to say that they didn't die from COVID shot. I cannot say either way, but I do know there have been some speculations and some people who have gotten the shot and they've said, well, that made so-and-so much sicker or made, somebody die. Those are cases that are very, very low, 0.01%. That I do know, versus what happens when you get COVID, versus what happens when you have an infection that you may have been on a vent for 40 days. And when you come off, you're still bedridden because you can't even walk anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're so weak. And luckily you didn't die.
Yeah. I've seen so many different comments in groups and chats. I've seen even people say, hey, and people just put out these TikTok things. And one time a person was saying, and you mentioned this earlier, and I just maybe want you to elaborate a little bit more on it. But how people were saying, well, listen, if you didn't believe in taking the vaccine and then you get COVID, don't go to the hospital because now you're taking away beds from people that really need them. And you were one of those people that didn't want to do that. Now I know personally what we
you
could
can't
talk
say
about.
That, right?
Of course you can't say it. Right. Of course. And I say, like I said, what somebody could say offline and just in the confines of the foster dwellings, you know what I'm saying, is totally different. than professionally, or just like, like I said, these are some people that come out here and just say certain things. Now, of course, as a medical professional, you're not going to say that. But the thing is, can you maybe comment more on why people should take the vaccine? Because this is a situation that I have friends right now that tell me that they didn't take the vaccine because it came out too soon. And I think as a former detective, I even do my own research, and to come out that like this was FDA approved, emergency approval by the FDA, correct?
Correct.
So I think, can you explain what that is? Because I think a lot of people are just stuck on the word it wasn't approved. So
there's something called EUA, Emergency Utilization Authorization. And when there's a pandemic or when there's an urgency, instead of the FDA, federally FDA approved, which is what our routine normally medications, vaccines are approved that way. And that takes sometimes years. But there's also an emergency rollout. And that's what we call the EUA. Because of what we were subjected to some 18 months ago, last year in February, there was an urgency to find something that could begin to mitigate, to control, to slow down the spread. That was even before the Delta. So they had to find a way that they could see where they could give in a vaccine protection against this coronavirus. So that's where the EUA. Now, of course, we now know that the vaccine that we're speaking of has now received all the bells and whistles of the FDA approval. And this is why now the mandate, some agencies and some companies, be it private as well as federal, are and hospitals, et cetera, are now mandating that those workers in those fields will be required to get their vaccine or at least get tested every week. But some of them are saying either you get vaccinated or you don't work. And that's a hard pill to swallow. And I get it. I mean, and I know people have your rights, and I'm not trying to take people's rights away. I just know that right now we are in a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That tells you something. Yes, you can still get corona, get COVID, even though you're vaccinated. But again, as I said in the beginning, it's a whole different. It's like it's like the three bears. Okay.
Right.
And the house of straw or the
Right.
house of bricks.
Yes.
So let my body be the house of bricks. Yeah,
okay.
the wolf is gonna come up in there, whatever, and blow it down and do whatever. But I'm gonna stand strong.
Yeah, because and like you said, basically, like you said, if you're a house of bricks, you can't stop the wolf from getting inside. But the bottom line is he's not gonna knock you down. If you straw, then you're gonna go down. So I mean,
that's right.
That's something that a lot of times people need to hear. Let me ask you your personal opinion, and maybe you might mix it with your professional if you can. When you see all these people coming out talking about I'm the former so-and-so of this, and I used to work here, and I did that, and they're talking about, it seems like they're coming out and they're denouncing the vaccine.
Yeah.
You give it to me either way, personal or professional.
Well, I remember those days when they denounced measles, MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, measles, associating it with autism.
Right.
And people like, whoa, and it was the big anti-vaxxers. And I respect that. That's your opinion. However, what that caused was an resurgence of measles, which we had pretty much eradicated. You didn't see measles. Now I'm of age that I got the measles and the mumps, but we know that also could kill and also leave permanent damage. Infertility and the like. So we've got MMR, measles, mumps, rubella. Well, at 12 months old, is when you get your first MMR. That's the injection. You get it for the first time at 12 months. Well, guess what else happens at 12 months? You begin to babble and talk. So people will say, well, Johnny was fine up until he got that measles shot. Well, what happened, Johnny was fine. He was doing all the other milestones, but that verbalization is expected at 12 months. So that, remember, that's the first time that Johnny would have received, because the American College of Immunization and the AAP, you get the first MMR, measles, mumps, rubella, at 12 months. So then it's like, whoa, wait a minute, he was doing fine. And then at that shot did it, because he didn't progress from that point on. Well, there's something called autism, which is genetic, by the way. And that autism begins to show its head at 12 months. So it's called, it's how should I say? It's like, if it happened at 12 months. So it was not related to the MMR. It was going to happen anyway. So we call it in medicine, it's caused, but not, it happened at the same time, but it's not caused. It did not, it's not the reason. It just coincidentally, you got your MMR at 12 months. But even if you didn't get your MMR at all, and that's when autism presents itself. So I have some folks who didn't get the MMR at all. They're like, I'm not going to get it, who have autism. So as they studied genetically, they realized there's a spectrum. And the spectrum of autism, you see from the mild to the severe. MMR doesn't add to it at all. So it was lots of autism has been undiagnosed for generations and generations. And it's milder in females than it is in males. So when they finally studied, and the gentleman, and I'm trying to be nice, who's related autism to MMR, he finally said, no, that wasn't true. I really didn't have that. That the cause effect, that's what the word cause effect, was not related to the MMR. Autism is autism. And when you study the families, you hear the history, what Johnny's father did as a child, or mother did as a child, or mother's brother, as they developed or lack thereof. So you're asking me, so that's part of a personal, because tons and tons and tons and tons and millions and millions and millions of people got the MMR.
Right.
Okay, so we're talking the percentage of autism in the general population is still less than 2-3%. But everybody else got MMR shots. So go figure. Now, as a personal, did my children get the measles, mumps, rubella vaccination at 12 months and 4 years old? Yes, they did. Was I already a physician at the time? Yes, I was. Am I also a geneticist? And I'm seeing autism as we never seen it before. When I say that, we're diagnosing it mild cases. So we missed a lot of it in the bloodline, in the DNA. So yeah, and I will say I have to respect folks who said, I don't want the MMR, but in the end, you have to get it anyway. The schools are not going to let you in. And it's going to be interesting down the road. It's going to be very interesting in terms of what the school is going to say, yay or nay, with the other vaccine, with COVID or what have you. We see the job market is beginning to mandate it. So I know I've talked a lot, but that's...
No, this, like everybody, let me say it again. This is Real Talk with Dr. Marilyn Corder. This is her segment. So you talk as long as you do, because I'm listening, everybody's listening. The one thing, everybody, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, social media, please share it. I might pretty soon have to go straight to YouTube, because Facebook gets a little funny with me sometimes, and we'll discuss that a little later. But anyway, the thing is, let me ask you, what's your personal, and Stefania, I'm going to read some of your comments. What's your personal feeling or your professional feeling on the president mandating certain workplaces to do that? Schools, like, where from a medical and a personal, what's your feelings on that?
I'd rather people get the vaccine free will, like who want it.
Right.
I'll say, even though I got vaccinated, mandating it is a little rough for me to swallow. I just want everybody to stay COVID free and COVID safe and not be a COVID fatality.
Absolutely.
I understand why there's some jobs, and places that will say, we don't want people to come down with COVID. We want to protect those that are vaccinated, as they're now saying. So those folks who are not vaccinated, you're either going to get vaccinated or not be here or work somewhere else, however way they are spending it. But I'm a physician, and I'm not going to say, oh yeah, everybody has to get vaccinated. My concern is the children who don't have an option, those
Right.
who are less than 11, less than 12.
Mm-hmm.
And, I get folks can't wait till their child turns 12. And some of them are 11 and a half. They're like, can we get it? Can we get it? Because they know and they see. And even the 12-year-olds up to 18 years old in our area, say about 40 to 50% are double vaccinated or have had both vaccinations. So we still have a delay with that as well. And the question is going to be, what are the schools going to, if they are going to mandate that age group that can get vaccinated?
Mm. Let me ask you a question, Doc. I'm not asking specifically about your hospital that you govern. I'm just talking in general. Do you think everybody in the medical field should be vaccinated?
Um,
I'm
do I
not trying to,
think they
yeah, I'm not trying to trick you now. I'm just, because I've heard people, and these are the questions I get, and they ask me to, ask you, because a lot of times I've heard people say, oh, well, I heard my friend say that, they're in the medical field and then they're a nurse or something and they're not vaccinated because they're not sure this and that, whatever the case. I mean, people having, being skeptical of certain things over professional, because my thing is, I mean, hell, I was in law enforcement, but I do
uh-uh.
speak out against police brutality. So, I mean, if that's something that I'm equating or not, but just give me your insight on that, Doc.
Okay, so so you hit me with three things.
Yes.
Okay. So, but let me start by saying the hospital where I work is mandated.
Okay.
They just mandated it. They had us all show our cards. It's mandated. Okay.
All right.
So that's it.
That's one.
Framework.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's one. Number two, um, hmm, um, should it be mandated? Well, we want to make sure that the doctors are protected. So it's out of the safety of the doctors,
Right.
and that's why they mandated it.
Yeah.
We're in DC, and some places are suing the employers or the companies that's mandating. That's going to be interesting how that rolls out.
Right.
We've seen interviews of folks who were not vaccinated, and then they got sick and on vents, and then you hear and see them say, some of them I've seen, I wish I had been mandated. I mean, I wish I got the vaccine. So it's hard. I'm not in politics. I'm not an employer of over 100 folks. That's what they say now. If you employ over 100 people, you would have a you have to either, but I think it's mask mandating and then mandating vaccine or getting tested every
Every like twice a week or something like that.
right.
Right. And it's so funny. I apologize. I did give you three things at once, but I know, you come from a strong, smart family tree line. we we got a lot of stuff going on. For those who don't know, Dr. Marilyn Corder is my cousin, so I throw little jokes out like that so we can laugh. Certain things you won't understand from a family. Only a family person will understand a little humor from that point. But the thing is, also, Stefania said, from what I am seeing, people want the right to do what they want to do with their bodies. She said that's the issue. The force being behind it alone, with the many side effects that's getting pushed under the rug. I guess with side effects, I think side effects can they be a cause to people having underlying conditions and not knowing that they have underlying conditions? Because, I mean, the fact of it is, people that have underlying conditions know they got underlying conditions. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have underlying conditions and then you get the vaccine, could that expose your conditions that you didn't know you have?
It's interesting. Yes. And who knows? So that's where it's more of a question. Like, okay, I have an underlying condition. Who knew? or I didn't know it was that serious, or I didn't know that's what you meant. It's like this, as I say on my show, knowledge is power, and
Right.
can be empowering, and um it's hard. It's and I have to take. I have. I can't. I'm not trying to take sides. I just know that people are dying from COVID, and I know 600,000 people who died. In my opinion, wish that they had a chance to get the vaccine,
Right.
and they didn't. So, and as we are going through, be it thinking back, hindsight 2020, too bad they didn't, and the fact that they showed us what happens when you didn't. And as we now seeing it in real time, those that are unvaccinated or who's very sick, then we know it works. There has benefits. If you don't want those benefits for fear of maybe I'm gonna have a side effect, a bad reaction to the shot, or even die from the shot, well, we said that's 0.01 versus might be 50-50 if you get COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's, especially if you have comorbidities. And you said, well, what if you have comorbidities and you get the vaccine and those and it kicks your butt or what have you, gives you allergic reaction, throws a clot.
Right.
Then from there, and all of that, you got to play. It's almost like you have to individually personalize it to yourself and the art. And just like with the flu, and the flu way back in the 40s, and then with what we have now, most of us know somebody who died from COVID. Okay, people who got the vaccine, many of us don't know them if they died, but we know people who died or suffered or never came back from COVID.
Right.
So, and knowing that, and knowing what that person perhaps would have, how they would have benefited if they received the vaccine, then just play that several times in your mind.
It's so funny that you said that, Doc, because like I said, I've lost, Malika and I both have lost people to COVID from different reasons. One was asthmatic and he caught it at work. And then, other people, I mean, both of them, to be honest with you, both of them was asthmatic. So it doesn't, like, for underlying conditions, it's not a chart like asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure. It's not a chart like that. It's just underlying conditions, period, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. So I mean, I think, like, people out there, please, we understand that some of you may have issues. I mean, like, I tell anybody, I took the flu shot and I caught the flu and I felt like I was dying. I'll never take the flu shot again. But then I know I know what I have to do. I have to be very I have to do all the precautions that I need to do during flu season.
Right.
What's the whole thing about people now? Since this vaccine has been out, the flu numbers have been down, Doc?
Yes. And guess what? And the masks have been down. The flu have been down. Flu been down from wearing mask wearing makes a big difference. Okay, people poo-poo that, but mask wear makes a big difference. Okay, so
I see you about to get Marilyn over there.
Yeah. I got 5 things going on, but anyway.
I see that.
Wearing a mask makes. We didn't see flu last year.
Right.
Okay, so
now the flu, break down the symptoms of the flu and pneumonia for me, and equate to the COVID, because I think I've heard people say this, and like I said, everything that I'm asking you is what I've been given in prelude to coming to you. So these symptoms, are they all like in the same family?
Well, that's the problem. That's where we had a report from Children's Hospital just today saying, due to the increase in respiratory symptoms and the increase in, how did they put it? Increase in respiratory symptoms, COVID, and there's something called soon, it's almost like pre-flu. We don't know which is which. And each child,
Okay.
each person, when I'm talking children now, each person presents differently. So the
Hmm.
flu is going to look like COVID, and COVID is going to look like the flu. That's
Okay.
why it's going to be so important to test. So,
Hmm.
you can't say, oh, I just got the flu, and you're sitting up there with COVID, and you're running out of time, because if it's the Delta COVID is, you know, that's the one that usually you have so many days, or yeah, at least 3 or 4 days, even maybe a week or two. Delta doesn't allow you that much time. You don't have that kind of time in the bank. You
Really?
no, it sometimes it's within 72 hours you're on the vent. So that's what's
Wow.
frightening. It's very aggressive, very
So,
aggressive.
so yeah, can you do? I know because there's another one out too. What can you give us the
The
variants that?
lambda, but
Yeah.
well, Delta. How did they put it? Delta was 30 to 50% more aggressive than the first two variants. Now they're saying this newer variant is going to be even worse, and be it vaccine help or not vaccine help. So, it's back in May when they started opening up things. I said, well, you know what? When they started opening up things in May, they they I I think we opened up too soon. Sure, the vaccine was available, but unfortunately it backfired, and we have the surge, and people who said they were vaccinated weren't. And then they said you don't have to wear the mask if you're vaccinated. Error. We all should keep our mask on, all
Okay.
of us.
All right. I know Malika's happy to hear that because she's definitely a component. Yeah, babe, where's your mask? Where's your mask? Hey,
Please.
where's your mask? You know what I'm saying? So she's definitely advocate of that. I think um shall I say or I'm just putting it out there. Is the mask here to stay maybe
I
forever?
think I think that's going to be our new accessory. Well, last year we didn't see the flu,
Right,
like we seen it in previous years. It worked.
right.
So
Yeah.
why not? I feel bad for the lipstick market,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
mask. What does the mask do? Instead of people who were supposed to, when they cough and sneeze, they tell you cough in your elbow.
yeah.
The mask got you.
Your
Okay,
mask got keep all that. Keep
that's
all
right.
that.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's yours. Keep it. We don't
Yeah,
want it. And a double mask. When I said double mask on yourself or someone else who has a mask on. All of the above gives you more protection. Hand
yeah.
wash. Please, let's still wash our hands. I hand wash. I put gloves on in the office because people touch their face. They eat with their hands, etc. The virus stays around a while, hours. Doorknobs, etc. Wipe them down. Okay.
Mm. Wow. Let me read some comments. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in and watching. This is Real Talk with Doctor. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Dr. Marilyn Corder. And this is, like I said, she's here the second Monday of every month. And yes, we are back and we are on the move. Stefania said, "This is the fourth." Okay, she said the vaccine mandate will not go over well. Shoot, it's not going well now. A lot of businesses are losing money. That is so true. Um, there's a big thing now that restaurants or certain places are making people, mandated that you either have to be vaccinated or their staff has to be vaccinated or some things like that, or you can't come in if you're not vaccinated. And then, I hear people with oh, well, we don't have to patronize this establishment if we don't want to go. Listen, if you was dead, you wouldn't be going. You know what I'm saying? Your ass would be in a cemetery, so hospital. And what's so funny? I get it. Like I just think as America, Doc, enlighten me. Just Americans, we're just the most stubbornness. I don't want to do this
we got
shit.
our we got our rights. We got our rights. And as
Yeah,
I said when
yeah.
my son came, he lives in Manila, and he came here August the 4th for business. But when he came, he his flight landed at 5:30 that Wednesday, the 4th, in AM. He was at CVS getting his COVID shot at 10 a.m. So because he
That's
couldn't
it.
get it, he's a foreigner elsewhere, and he couldn't get it. Those
Wow.
a lot of places have major like shortages. So maybe only a third of the population of the citizens. So he was way on the low. He was like the last of the group.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that might
yeah.
have been 4 years, 2 years, whatever years. And people,
Mm,
in his country shut it down. They started shutting down in February. Well, with all of that, he came and he got his vaccine. And then he
yeah,
got his second half 3 weeks later. So,
good,
but
good, good.
yeah.
Yeah, let me just shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Colin also, Cheryl said, I totally agree with the mask wearing. Everyone should wear wear them, vaccinated or not.
Right.
Colin said the flu has been down because we're wearing a mask. Let's all keep wearing those masks. Cheryl
That's
said,
right.
thank you.
It's
Yep.
simple as that. And that's
Yeah.
why, I recommend you to get the vaccine depending upon who you are, what age group, etc. Because for the kids' sake, for my patients, 80% of my patients are 12 and less. So I feel so bad for them because what can I say? If other people get vaccinated who are of age with the FDA approved vaccination, then those children, the smaller the daycare, etc. Uh-huh. So
So Cheryl also said, thank you for saying that. I've been saying it all along. They definitely opened up the country way too soon. It is just so crazy out here, everybody. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my co-host, Dr. Marilyn Corder. And
now
this is Real Talk.
let me take a 2-minute break, okay?
Go ahead, Doc. Come on. Go ahead. Do your thing. I got you. This
Okay.
is so everybody. Yeah, please, if you have some questions or comments, just write them in and ask the doctor. Thank you. We're back. We took a little hiatus, a little vacation over the holidays, but we're back and up and running and kicking. I got my backup right behind me. Malika's in the corner. Please, like I said, anybody, you're always welcome to come on. Like I said, I'm not sitting here telling anybody, yes, Malika and I took the vaccine. I'm not telling anybody what to do. That is your choice. But the bottom line is, I think a lot of you have seen that the world has opened up, and I'll tell the doc that too when she comes back, that we seem like people are partying again. It's almost like Moses going up to get the 10 Commandments and coming back down and seeing everybody partying. And then I'm going to have to ask Pastor Kevin Graves about that, just to give you some our list of shows. Of course, we're here Mondays and Wednesdays. We're always here. The first Monday of the month, we have Assemblyman Al Taylor. Of course, it's still up in the air, New York. Eric Adams. Also, we're doing a fundraiser. There's a fundraiser being done for Eric Adams on the 30th of September at Cecil's. I'll post that flyer again for those that need to know that. The second Monday of the month is Dr. Marilyn Corder, Real Talk with the Doctor.
I'm back. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
she's back. Yes. I was just running down a list of what's happening. The third Monday of the month is Allison Williams, the First Lady of Def Jam. And then the fourth Monday of the month is Pastor Kevin Graves. And on Wednesdays, I am here with Kevin and Chuck and whomever wants to come in, and we discuss politics, and we talk police stuff and anything that magnitude. But the bottom line is things are real serious out here. Colin says, I tell folks all the time, you have your rights not to take the vaccine. And I have my rights not to have you in my home or around me. And that's real talk. Because the bottom line is, Doc, people are out here partying like it is like nothing ever happened.
Right.
That baffles me. And then they're acting like I was equating it to like when Moses went up and got the 10 Commandments and came down, and they were just partying around everything. It's just people are defiant in regards to this not taking this vaccine, and it's the haves and have-nots and all that. We have all the conspiracy theorists, and there's so many things going on. What's just give us some I mean, like you said, of course, you're not telling anybody what to do. Like you said, you're in a medical field, so you know that the vaccines do work. Like I said, underlying, like I said, you and I were just trying to figure this out from a slew standpoint of that maybe when people do take vaccines and then they do get sick, certain things happen that
Mm-hmm.
or maybe divulge things that they didn't even know about themselves. So the bottom line is, because I mean, there are people that's been walking around, even myself. Oh, I'm pre-diabetic. I'm pre-diabetic. Yo, listen. One sandwich, one carb too many or something. And next thing you know, you're diabetic. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times people know that they have underlying issues and stuff like that, but they fail to take heed to that. There are people, like I said, that have got vaccinated. Can you talk about what is it? Is it, Malik? What is it? The antibodies in the person that once they get once they have COVID, is that like supposed to stop them from ever getting COVID again?
And that's your cousin. I'm not gonna mention his name. He got COVID, and he had antibodies for a while, but those antibodies, they become what we call active antibodies initially, right. And then they wean. They what we call wane and wean, and that protected them for a minute, and I say for a minute against let's say COVID that week or two, but it's not the same as the vaccinated defense. So that's why they'll tell you after you've had COVID, you still the recommendation would be after I've heard 3 months or so to begin to schedule, up to 6 months, begin to schedule for your vaccine. And having had COVID, here's one question that some people have asked: having had COVID, once you've had COVID, it doesn't protect you from getting it again. Number one. Number two, getting a vaccine, there's no extra side effects because you had COVID. Does that make sense?
It makes sense when it comes out your mouth. I'm gonna try to make sure it makes sense in my ears. Say that again one more time for everybody in the back row.
Okay. All right. So I have active COVID. I'm sick. I'm diagnosed, go home, quarantine, get your flu, get your Tylenol. Fortunately, I'm not on a vent. Right, and I didn't get the vaccine yet. After having the vaccine, after having the infection, you do have some antibodies. Hopefully that COVID that attacked your body, in your body, turned you positive, is not overwhelmingly bothering your body. But your protection, your antibodies that you got because you had it, it's not going to be your vaccination strength. It's going to be that you had antibodies, that you had the exposure, that you had the infection. But after a while, the protection that you got when you, or the antibodies that you got when you had the infection are going to leave. It's not going to stay and say, okay, I've had it like measles, like I had it like chickenpox. It's going to leave. Unfortunately, it's like the next season of COVID, etc. So the vaccine will give you a better protection.
So so when it leaves, it's you back to zero again,
right?
And now you are the person that can still catch it. You can't walk around here acting like you got an S on your chest and talk about I fought it. You need to. So So for all the people out here on the layman terms, if you didn't catch what the doctor was saying, just because you've had the COVID and the antibodies have come and they protected you. Or you had the antibodies. The antibodies will leave you eventually, and you will be open to catching it again, just like you never had it before.
Right.
I'm okay. I just wanted to make sure I was correct in all that. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see all of you: Todd, Ron, Michael, Yvonne, Gerald, Kyra. I see you. Cheryl said, "Hey, Malika." Kyra said she got on late, so she's going to ask this question, and I'll ask it again for her. She said, "I got on just now. I'm curious to know, if you take the vaccine, does it keep you from getting the virus?" I know we talked about it earlier in the show, but just give her one quick answer. I'll give her that.
No, it doesn't protect you. It protects. It gives you a defense, but it doesn't protect you.
All right. So Doc, when they give these percentages on Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, what numbers are these referencing when it's 95 and 96? And And they're saying that effective. What numbers are they talking about, or whom are they referring to? So just the person that doesn't catch it, or the person that? Because I think a lot of people are under the norma that if we all take it, I should be 95% not able to catch it, but it's coming up that that's not happening. So it's just like, okay.
So there's something called a herd effect, and,
Right.
and some of those that works with some things, but not everything. A herd effect meaning that you have so many people who took the vaccine, and let's say 90% took it, so that other 5 or 10% would say, "But I don't have to get that vaccine because the herd effect. Well, everybody in the herd, got the vaccine, so there's no longer going to be virus X." But unfortunately, this is not the case. So the people were relying on the herd effect. You go ahead, you go ahead, you go ahead. Then in addition to that, even with the herd effect, we have 25% of the population who can't even get vaccinated because they're less than 12. So that's a big gap, and that's the most vulnerable because they're small children. And then they have grandparents, and the grandparents, who are most vulnerable. So you have the extremes of the population. So
yeah, I get it. So like you're right, Stefania, people been partying anyway. So they're partying during the pandemic. So I can only imagine now. Delencia, listen, I'm gonna read what you said, then I'm gonna comment. She said, "It's not being defiant, Bill. It's a choice. People should not be made to feel like they should get the shot because others did. Where's the support for those who choose not to get the shot?" Listen, let me just say this. I really don't care if you get the shot or you don't. All I am is trying to be a vessel of information. So the bottom line is that's your choice. I support you or not. Like Colin said earlier in the show, you have a right not to get the thing. And I have a right to not hang with you if I choose not to, because the bottom line is the only person that can protect me better than me is me and my wife and God. Otherwise than that, and then I just have to go on my personal experiences or listening to the doctors and my personal doctors and listening to my family doctors and listening to my family that are doctors. So you have a right not to get it at all. I don't give up. You do you, yo. But when you ain't getting invited to the house, or I mean, not that you care, I don't. But I'm just saying, people have a choice. I mean, I think this world is getting to a point right now where it's going to be divided, where people are going to say, "Are you vaccinated? Are you not?" Because right now, it goes back to the days when, remember when people for AIDS kind of blew up and people were like, "Oh, AIDS, listen." Anything that comes out, herpes, AIDS, whatever, comedians have made jokes about that and things like, listen, people want to know, people are in the know, and people got a right to know. People have a right not to get vaccinated, but how do you feel? Let me ask you a question, D. How do you feel about not wearing a mask? Do you feel like you should wear a mask too? What's up, Charlie Beck? Hi, Miss Collins. How are you? Collins said, "Having the vaccine doesn't protect you from getting the virus, but it makes your chances greater to live and talk about it." Eunice Collins, she's like a second mom to me. She asked, "Do you recommend getting the booster shot?"
Listen, now let me be very transparent. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
And it's like so I'm not going to drink all the Kool-Aid.
That's what we said, baby.
Okay, and I don't want to disrespect those who are needing to get the vaccine, the booster, etc. I get that. I want you to stay alive. My vaccine probably, as they say, have waned down. I got my first one in December, my second one early January. I was one of the first ones. Matter of fact, Kamala Harris came over to my center, to my hospital.
Right.
At the time, I was chief of staff. So we got it right. We did what we were supposed to do, the best in the city. But I'm not there yet.
Is this a one? Now, let me ask you a question, Doc. Is the booster, I know what a booster means, but is a booster in lieu of taking the vaccine again? Or is this going to be a 1-year thing for everybody, like the flu shot?
Guess who don't know that answer? Mwah.
Okay,
I
got you.
I tell you what, I'm not one of these doctors gonna say, "Oh yeah, so this or that." I don't know. I don't know that one.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
yeah. I'm gonna be funny. What about that doctor behind you? Does he know that?
No, I know he doesn't know that either.
I know. Tell him he ain't got to impress the listening audience out there gonna cook up some food for you. Tell him I said, "Yo, Freddie, it's all right."
The sleeping dog live.
Hey, Fred.
Freddie, I get it.
My job is to be just background.
Oh, listen, Gladys Knight had the pips, Smokey had the miracles. I get it. But sometimes, dance it out, Fred, dance it out. But the one thing I do know, New Edition was a whole group, so I know that's what the Corders are. They're a whole group. Listen, when I say doctors, I don't say the singular. I say doctors. Right. So I've talked to both of you, and I love the conversations I have with all of you. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles, and this is Bill Foster with Dr. Marilyn Corder. This is Real Talk with the doctor, and you can see that the other doctor was in the background too. So Ruthie said most of the anti-vaccine folks already have several vaccine examples already: polio, smallpox, mumps, etc. They are mandatory yet don't want this one. What do you think about that? I mean, I think you mentioned that. I mean, I'll read it again too. Ruthie said most of the anti-vaccine folks already have had several vaccines, example already polio, smallpox, mumps, etc., and that are mandatory yet that don't want this one. You know, Doc, you mentioned that earlier in the show. And for everybody who didn't miss that, please go back and look at it again, either on YouTube or social media or Facebook. What can you just elaborate on that again, too, Doc?
Okay. So elaborate on the viruses, the infections that we have eliminated, that are no longer because vaccinations, or what am I say? I
think basically Ruthie is kind of co-signing what you're saying in the sense that, you know, everybody listen, Doc, and this is real talk right now. This is a real talk moment. If you're over what age, you have some kind of vaccine in your system. Listen, anybody over a certain age, I know I'm in my 50s. Before I had to go to school, I had to get vaccinated every year, right? To a certain amount of time. So there's a certain age that everybody has a vaccine in them. You didn't have a choice. And your parents took you there. I don't care what your religion was. If your ass wanted to go to school, to learn something, Western history, but you know what I'm saying? You had to get vaccinated. Now you have a choice. I get it. Yeah. But don't, I think, and this is where the problem I have, Doc, and you know, it's almost coming down like politics almost. It's like, you know, people mad at Fauci now, people mad at this person, you know, people will be mad at us later. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all right.
Right.
Listen, you know, we wear the cape. The bottom line is we're just, you know, people of information. You know, you're taking your time because of me. And because of first and foremost, not just because of me, but because of whom you are, you're taking your time to spread knowledge to people. Right. People do listen. We can put a book in front of you. Don't make you want to read it. Like take a horse to water. Don't make them drink it. That's your choice. I get all that. But the bottom line is have good intel for yourself, because when people that are not vaccinated get sick. Now, Doc, this is the crazy thing. There are going to be people out here that are not vaccinated that, bless their heart, God has blessed them, that they will never get sick. And they are going to be the ones that are standing on the podium saying, listen, I didn't get sick and I never took the vaccine. Only thing we can do is say, you're
lucky. Okay.
Yeah.
But guess what? So that one, there would be hundreds who got sick and some that died who were unvaccinated. Right. So it's like playing the numbers.
Yeah. Dell said, mask up for everyone. I work in the healthcare and I have 2 jobs that require you to wear a mask, whether you vaccinated or not. Okay, so I get you. You don't want to get vaccinated, but you definitely don't mind wearing a mask. Now, Doc, is that like an oxymoron? I mean, help me out with this. I mean, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but I just want to know, people can wear a mask. They don't have a problem putting on a mask. I mean, there are some people that just are adamant they don't want to wear a mask, they don't want to get vaccinated. You're just miserable. But what about the people that don't mind wearing a mask, but they don't want to get vaccinated? So, I mean, the bottom line is just wear a mask, period, right? Because Malika and I wore a mask, full transparency. We wore a mask before we were sure about getting vaccinated. After speaking to you and doing our research, then we decided that it was best for us. But the thing is, so, I mean, is the mask the begin all, the end all? I mean, like, or is the vaccine the begin all, the end all?
It's like it's like the 1-2 punch,
Right.
But at least have something. You got some folks who won't even wear a mask, who not vaccinated, who think it's a hoax, who crazy. Okay, right. If you're wearing a mask, I mean, I'll say, it's still a chance that you're gonna possibly get exposed because it's out there. I told my staff everybody's gonna have had COVID before it's all over. It's just how much defense do you have? As
really?
I said, I want to be a brick house. Exposed, yeah, because what if we test everybody? See, you could have had COVID and not know it. These symptoms are coming through with cold, with viruses, with flu, and not know it. If we test everybody, a good 25% of people who had no idea they're positive is positive. So I tell my staff, assume everybody has COVID. It's called universal precaution, universal assumption. You got COVID, you just ain't sick.
Can you say that again for everybody, Doctor, please? That is paramount, because that's eye-opening for me. That's a real talk moment for me. Like you said.
And let me tell you, so I had this discussion with my patient, with my staff. They're shaking in their boots. Oh, one of our families, and this is right off, one of our families had COVID. When I say families, in the practice, 3 weeks ago, had COVID. And the CDC recommendation is once you've had COVID, you quarantine 7 to 10 days. You stay away from folks. But the question that my staff posed to me was, well, Doc, they had COVID. You gonna let them come in the office to get their well visit? And I looked at them and I said, well, at least they called us and said they had COVID. Can you imagine all the thousands of people we've seen who ain't said nothing because they ain't even got tested? The only reason this tested because somebody said check and get tested. But I said, so assume every person in this office that comes through here got COVID. And they're like, oh.
So basically it's like, as they say in fighting, and I know this from doing it, they'll say, always, when you break, keep your hands up. So this is a defensive mechanism right now. Everything with the vaccine.
Universal precaution.
Let me just ask read some comments. Hey, Paula, I see you. Kyra said, is there information on vaccinated people who've died? I mean, you may get that stats. I don't know if that's privy to anybody.
Well, you know what? And there's seniors. Yes, there's some information. I don't know all the stats, but there have been some people, and they have said as low as 2% out of the 100% who not only got hospitalized because they got vaccinated, they got hospitalized, and they died. And I say that to say that, and they all been elderly in terms of sick. Well, not elderly because I'm elderly, but in terms of comorbidities.
You're young as a surprise, all that. Let's say shit.
Comorbidities.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. All right.
So yes. So and I think this multifactorial. I think that even that vaccine may have had them last longer than when they did transition. Who knows? But yes, there have been people who have been vaccinated who have died from COVID. But there are lots of folks who never got vaccinated who have died.
Right.
It's 11 times the stats now. The recent report, 11 times, the rate of death is 11 times more if you have not been vaccinated.
Mm.
Those are odds that you want to be on the better side of.
Yeah, listen, I'm not trying to gamble like that. Listen, I don't gamble at all. Listen, I know how to go in a casino and walk around it or walk past it, but I don't have to stay in there.
Right.
I'm not playing with those numbers. Doctor, we got you for 6 more minutes. I know how your time is. Anybody out there, please, if you have questions for the doctor, ask them now or send them in later. I'll tag her in this post, and she can always go back and listen in her leisure when she wants to, because she's a busy woman. Definitely with that. What's up, Elizabeth? How are you? Let's see. Okay, Del, I didn't know if you were vaccinated or not. You just said you were standing up for the rights of people that the choice to not get vaccinated. So I guess that was just my assumption. My bad. Ruthie, nothing is 100%, but since I got vaccinated in March, I have more freedom. Still only hanging with my vaccinated pod, my people. So I mean, yeah, that's where it's right now, and that's what I was trying to say. People are only going to hang. You want to feel secure, with people that are non-vaccinated. It's just almost like when people are now getting in relationships and they say, let's go. And this is what I don't understand a lot of things. Even when it comes to sex, people a lot of times, generations of get together and say, let's all go to the medical doctor. You go to your doctor and get your O, check for STDs, and I get mine and stuff. And now we can have unprotected sex.
Right.
But the bottom line is people don't want to, that's going to be crazy too. Like, yo, you're vaccinated and I'm not vaccinated. Are we going to date? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
This is going to go real far. This is just opening up the can of uncertainty for everybody. It really is. It's going to be real different. And I mean, like you said, Doc, you think the world opened up? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misquote you. You said you think the world opened up
too prematurely.
Too premature.
And we were COVID stark raving mad. We were under house arrest. We needed that. We were craving that socialization. But we did it too soon, and we came off that mask, which we never should have.
Right. I mean, Doc, what's your personal feelings or your medical, or maybe I should say your professional before your personal? I'll get the personal sidebar. What's your medical? But I mean, this is your show, so you say what you want to say. Like, where do these variants come from? Like, what the hell is going on out here? And shit. Like,
variants come from several. I mean, well, they are mutations. If you got so much of it hanging around, it's almost like, okay, if you have so many cases lingering, then you're gonna get a resistance, and you got a ton of them. And let's talk about like roaches. Okay, roaches, after a while, that raid is not gonna do anything because we didn't kill all the roaches. Right. So they're just trying to survive, and they're gonna come back stronger. This is why even with the vaccine, it's not going to be the cure-all. It has never been the cure-all, but it would give you some protection as you are vitamin D taken, as you are zinc taken, as you are hand washing, as you are wearing your mask, as you are in a non-crowded situation, as you are working from home. There's a list of things that you need to be doing. And I pray that you're doing. I pray that your listening audience can hear and have heard something that perhaps will save their lives, perhaps will help those loved ones who have had COVID or about to go in an environment that's COVID ridden, super spreading, just not to go. On the last thing, I had one of my families, I got tons, I had eight people call me today, different families throughout the DC region, test positive. Daycare. One young lady who's 16, 15 years old was going to a concert. And one of the mandates of the concert was that you have a recent COVID test. So she said, okay. Her mother that week before had a little cold, no big deal. So she's 16 years old, total picture of health. So she had tested because that was the mandate. And she got tested Wednesday. The concert was Saturday. She tested positive. What if she wasn't going to the concert?
Right.
She wouldn't have been tested. And if she and her siblings would have been all over the city, going to school, etc. So mom said, well, let us all get tested. Out of the 5 members of the family, 4 were positive. The girl was positive, and 3, her mother and 2 siblings. But what if they had not been? Pay attention. What if she wasn't going to the concert?
So ain't that something? The moral of the story, something so minuscule like a concert caused her to get tested.
Right. Because she had no symptoms.
No symptoms. So, it's so funny. You said something earlier too. And well, I forgot, Malika and I, we got some time though, but like you said, I guess your immune system, due to the year, is it like almost a year that it starts to wane down from the vaccine? So,
well, they say 6 months to a year. Who knows? And I say this: keep your immune system up. I take immune boost. I'm not going to be one of these. The vaccine is the cure all. It's the rise in the sun rises on
the sun rises and sets.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not that. I'm not like that. I'm not one of those doctors. Trust me. But I'm also realistic, and I know how you can spread a virus. Being a physician, I know how you can't spread. I know masking helps. I know social distance helps. Helps. I know all of that helps. I know your vitamin D, your zinc, as I said. So be the all of it. Okay.
Everybody, you heard that. So, like you said, the doctor said, not going to tell you. She's not going to sell you any dreams. But the bottom line is, besides, can you give us some boosters that people can just buy over the counter? Like you said, I don't know, what is it, zinc, things like
zinc,
that.
Double the dose. Where it says recommendation, do twice that, because we're in a pandemic. Get your fluids in, your vitamin C. You can never go wrong with vitamin C. Okay. Get the zinc lozenges. Find some zinc lozenges, because COVID attacks the mucocutaneous, the mouth, the tongue. That's why you can't taste after a while. Eat your fruits and vegetables. I know we say that all the time. Eat real food. All right. Get your rest.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build up. Think about your body as a machine fighting this warfare. Think about your body, walking through, trying to fight the warfare. It reminds me of Wakanda, in the warriors. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Sword, you're moving. Okay. Get everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Get your
so you said zinc,
arm yourself head to toe.
You said, what was the other thing you said before? You said zinc,
vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. Vitamin D. Okay. I emphasize that because so many people, the common denominator for those that perished with COVID had low vitamin D. And we or Black people tend to have vitamin D deficient all our lives. And we're not in the sun.
Yeah.
Vitamin D, please.
So, wow, is that something that can help the COVID take over the body, lack of vitamins, vitamin D and stuff like that? Wow.
Yes. So I even take CBD, because CBD blocks the receptors. Receptors that COVID is attacking. So I do my CBD drops, I do my vitamin D, I do my vitamin C, I do my zinc. I take, and because I'm on the front line.
Yes. I salute you, definitely. Like I said, also too, is this thing does it affect the elderly more than it takes the young?
Absolutely. Because their body is weak, less response, and sometimes they don't know if they're sick or not, and they often are dehydrated, and they often are overwhelmed. And that's why in many places, I know in this jurisdiction, the nursing home staff have to be vaccinated, because sometimes those nursing homes, assisted living, the staff, the employees bring it in. And once it spreads, it spreads. And we saw that in New York. We saw that here in DC. I mean, so they're vulnerable. They're like daycare goers. It's just that they have the gray hair. But they're like the little babies. I call them great silver fox babies. They're vulnerable. So yes.
So let me just, and this is the last question. Anybody else? You're gonna have to come back and look at the whole segment on YouTube or social media, because the doctor's always busy. As you said earlier, she's been moving and grooving all day, and I'm just so happy that she's. What'd you say, Paula? She said, "Why is it if the vaccine purpose was to prevent people from getting COVID-19, then why did the vaccinated people still get COVID-19? But the probability of them dying was lost. Likely. Why? What is the booster shot's purpose?"
Well, the booster shot is to maintain that defense for those who are more vulnerable. Because after a while, the vaccine is not going to be, it's almost like a flu, it's not going to be as powerful, as effective. So there's going to be an overlap to give that body's chance to, as the vaccine protection is waning down, the booster is adding to it to give them further protection from the virus. Now, as I said earlier, that's what the seniors, the vulnerable, the people who have cancer, the people who have autoimmune um, vulnerability in terms of their immune system uh, at a deficiency, like sickle cell and lupus, things that otherwise they can get sick anyway. In general, from a common cold. Folks who have asthma, even some of them will say, "Okay, I have this pre-existing condition or comorbid um, condition." So, how long the boosters last, I don't know. I just know that it's been recommended, and I don't know how long even the vaccine. I just know. See, we missed a lot of opportunity, Bill. When we were supposed to get the vaccination, we could have really, as the scientists showed, could have really got on top of this. There was all this delay and that window of opportunity, that short period of time. If we had done what we should have done, or should have been, as the researchers were telling us, we would have been in a better position. Going all the way back, if that leader that was in the White House wasn't so ignorant, all right, telling us it was going to go away when the weather got warmer last year, June.
Right.
But not if we had just began to arm ourselves and do what we're supposed to do and stop the super spreading, etc. We never would have been like where we are now.
Yeah.
There would have been some deaths. We know that. But as he belittled it and said, "Oh, it's going to go away like this and that," it's letting our guard down. We wouldn't have had even some of these variants because we would have been able to stomp it out if we stayed.
And he got vaccinated too, but he's talking about
And when he got COVID and almost died, they gave him the triple force that nobody else could have gotten. The cocktail, the shot, everything. Nobody else would have had the privilege. It wasn't even approved at the time. It wasn't be. So
he got the presidential shot in the ass. Yeah. He got the official dish.
Talking all that talk, he almost died in the White House. I have colleagues of mine. He couldn't breathe. They took his butt out of there and flew him, that we don't have the privilege of having, flew him directly, and all the experts were waiting. And he got 4 or 5 things that we at the time only could do one with our babies and our children and our patients in the ICU. He got the premier. But because of him and some famous people's parents who died, they're blaming Trump. They're saying, "Look, because you said this wasn't a big deal, my daddy's dead. Because you said we didn't have to wear a mask, my family is wiped out.
Wow.
I can't breathe as well anymore." So if we just had a brain, if we only had a brain in the White
House. I think I'm gonna try to, with your permission, unless you do it too, I'm gonna try to get some people on that have had COVID, if they're willing to speak of the battles that they've had to still be here with us, because I think that's important for some people to hear. Because I think a lot of times you and I can sit here, well, especially you more than me. I mean, like I said, when you and I both embark on this journalistic aspect, but the bottom line is you're a professional in what you do. You can sit here and say whatever you want. People going to sit back and say, doc, whatever. That's his cousin. She just going to say whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is your credentials are impeccable. You was a doctor, you know what I'm saying? When I was a little toddler running around the house. So the bottom line is, no matter what, people are going to believe whatever they want to. I think that's where the bottom line is what I'm trying to say. People are going to believe whatever they want to. Hopefully, even if, like I said, if you don't want to get vaccinated, anybody who's listening, that's fine. Just wear a mask, do what you have to do. So, Doc, I just want to say this. Babies are equivalent to the elderly because they're young, right? And is the immune system young? I mean, is that as you get older, your immune system strengthens when you get a certain age? I mean, like, starts off at 0, gets up to maybe 100, then goes right back down 50, 70. You know what I'm saying? Is that how that works for the body?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
And that's why initially, well, the daycare goers, the elementary school have high immune system because they usually bombarded with viruses and colds, etc. And that's why initially they said, oh, children are not getting it. But they actually were asymptomatic and they were getting it. But now the Delta is knocking the socks off of children. Okay. But
Wow.
going seniors, their immune system is depleted as they get older. That's why most of them will say, my doctor said, just don't get pneumonia. Just wait for COVID. But because they know once they become overwhelmed with pneumonia, they don't have a comeback. Even their chest muscles can't cough stuff up. But now COVID attacks your lungs. Now I can get tons of people on the show who have had COVID, whole families. So we will collaborate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. Because definitely, my man Kenny was right now. He said, yeah, I had it and it was terrible, not breathing. And I'm here to tell you that you don't want that feeling. Paula said, if you don't want to get vaccinated, stay your ass home unless you have an emergency. Paula also said, what's your idea feeling about the mass population theory by the government, which coincidentally happens every 10 years? And then is that something that you have an idea? I think.
What's the question?
She said, what's your idea? And I don't know what this is pertaining to. She said, what's your idea feeling about the mass population theory by the government, which coincidentally happens every 10 years? Is that there's something supposedly every 10 years a virus or something comes out,
I'm not sure, but every 10 years, I don't know if that's a thing where so many people have to die. I don't really know the answer to that question, but I would just say this, and this is a whole different topic. There's so many things going around because of global warming, and that's we have the fires, we have the storms, the hurricane, we have COVID, we have a lot. And if we want to have to turn this into a Christian show in terms of we're Christian, but Revelations, I mean, people will tell you these are the times.
Doc, break it down. Listen. We got Pastor Kevin Graves.
As Dr. Reverend McPherson would have said.
Yes.
Your uncle, my daddy.
Yes.
We need to make sure that we got our house in order. Okay? Because no day is promised. And lots have already transitioned. And why is it that we're left behind? Think about that.
Oh, like Stefania said, I think Paula was referring to Bill Gates saying that the vaccine are the cure for overpopulation. It makes one wonder.
It does. I hear you. I understand. I hear you. It does.
Wow. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. This is Real Talk with Dr. Marilyn Corder. And this is her show every second Monday of the month. If you missed this segment, shame on you. You can go back to YouTube and watch it, or you can go back to my social media page on Facebook and watch it. I hope you go back to YouTube and watch it. Just builds up the numbers, which makes everything even better for us. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Doc, you can get your people set for your next date. I'll send you your date, and you can have them come on. We'll send a link, whomever you want to come on, and we can just interview them. You and I, we can take another aspect to it. You can interview them and ask them how they feel. Because the beautiful thing about this, everybody, this is the Doc Show. We're going to talk about, right now, this is the hot topic. So, of course, we're going to stay on this. But, this is going to be Ask the Doctor. There might be questions, health questions that you may have that you want to ask her, and that you may be not able to get to your personal doctor right away. I know a lot of times I will buffer certain things because I'm not going to let you bombard the doctor with everything because that's my cousin. So y'all got to just back up off for some time. You can ask me, and I don't even ask her all those questions sometimes, because the one thing about the doctor, we come from a conscious family, and we talk about a lot of things, from police brutality, just to politics, just around the world. And I'm so proud that she's my cousin, and I'm so proud that we can converse. And she just did a show on her radio show, and she'll give you that show. You know, I was glad to be a part of that for 9/11. So she's conscious and she's aware of what happens in this world, in the city. I also wanted to shout out Donnie Roth. I saw you, Donnie. Donnie was my old sergeant, one of the best sergeants I worked for, handled this business in the street. Donnie, you see what's happening to the world today, man? If we were still working in New York, we'd probably get fired, brother. but we'll have law and order. Everybody, please protect yourselves. Watch your backs. You know, crime right now is at an all-time high all around the world, Republican and Democrat. So I don't want to hear the BS, but it's all over. This is the podcast that keeps it real. Not telling you not to watch anybody else, but I'm telling you to definitely watch us. Doc, before we get out of here, sweetie, unless you have something you want to say before we get out of here.
Just thank you.
She said, thank you. Doc, before you get out of here, give us some positive affirmations. Tell them where they can watch your radio show. Yes, she is on social media. Go ahead, Doc. Give it all to us before we get out of here. Thank you.
Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are at Radio 1 WOL 1450 AM. So just live stream it. And we talk about everything. It's called Village Talk with Dr. Corder. We've been doing this for 25 years. It's the Kathy Hughes radio dial. I also, today, I was on BNC, Black News Channel, talking about as we send our children, I wanted to say into the fire, but into the school. And, you know, what does that look like? And what's going on with the vaccines that's now going to roll out right around Halloween, the vaccine for 5 to 11. I'm still shaking in my boots. So this is Dr. Corder. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on Bill Foster Real Talk Chronicles, my little cousin.
That's it, baby. I love you, cuz. Everybody, listen, like it, subscribe to it, pass it along, share it. That's the doctor. I'm the cuz. I'm the little cuz. That's what she go. I'm always gonna be a little cuz. I love the fact that. Can you give some hearts and some thumbs up for the doctor, man, for having her in here? Because let me tell you something. I don't see anybody else having doctors on their show. I'm just saying, it's just real talk, right? I love you, cuz.
Love you too. Bye.
Everybody, good night. That's right. Send the hearts for the doctor and the thumbs up. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody, good night, man. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you Wednesday.